Hey, welcome back to the Black and Gold Standard Podcast. And today we want to keep marching on to the finish line and talking the defensive edge players today that's available in the NFL draft. This is a position that is it a big need for the Pittsburgh Steelers? No. I mean, because you got Watt, you got Hyde Smith, and you got Herbert. But I mean, whenever you can add a young, talented guy to this mix, it's not a situation where you shouldn't do it. Now, will the Steelers do it? I don't know. And then, I mean, is it a situation where maybe the Steelers want to trade Highsmith? Because I know one of the things the Steelers want to do, they want to get the defensive side of the ball salaries, under control. Because right now, that side of the ball is very, very expensive right now. So, do you maybe get a younger guy in there to control his salary, and maybe a guy like Highsmith or even Herbert is up for trade, and maybe one of those guys could be a draft day trade, and you want to, so you have to bring in a guy to replace him. So basically what I'm saying is this is a position that we would think that the Steelers um wouldn't be looking to do anything here, but you never know. You never know. I mean, like I say, if they decide they want to make a trade, um they may jump right into this edge um pot, because it's a lot of good players available. Like I said, we're only going to talk about 10 of them, but it's a lot of edges that's available, guys that's kind of like linebackers, but I think eventually like Reese is not on this list. I'll have him on my linebacker list, but I think eventually he'll be a guy that probably is going to be converted over to a edge player. So it's just a ton of guys in this draft, and I wouldn't be shocked if the Steelers would jump in this and maybe grab a guy. So with that said, let's get right into it and let's talk about it. See what we got here. Dun, dun, dun. All right, so starting right off, my number 10 guy is going to be Joshua Joseph, um, out of the University of Tennessee. 6'3", 242 pounds. Again, a 4.68 speed coming off the edge. And let's see here. Why I can't see that? Uh-uh. Oh. But we can't see that. And you look at his arm length, very long arms. So this is the guy that if he can get his moves together, um, he can get around that edge. He has long enough arms to keep those tackles off of him. I like this kid. Again, maybe not as a starter right away, but if you're replacing maybe Herbert, I wouldn't have a problem with bringing a kid like this in. As you can see, his arm length 34 and 1/4. So those are pretty long arms, and his estimated draft round is second round, mid second round. So you know, will he be? It's a possibility that he'll be right there for the Steelers if they wanted to go that route and try to get him in the second round. I think he would be available. Again, do I really see the Steelers doing that? Probably not, but it's always a possibility. And like I say, these edge players are going to be available, and a lot of these guys are going to drop. But also, I think at some point in this draft, it's going to be a run on the edge. So you might get a lot of these guys that maybe might go higher than what you may think, because once a couple of these guys get drafted, teams get to panicking, thinking that they're gonna get locked out and not be able to get a guy, and then they'll sometimes reach for a guy a little earlier than would expect it. So with that said, um, he's a good player, and like I said, look at that, 80+ wingspan. So that's I think arm length is very important with your edges coming around. Because they're coming around, because these guys basically take the long way around. So with that, you got to have long arms to hold those tackles off, and he definitely has that. So he's a guy that I under the right coaching, you know, he could be a very good player. He could be a very good player, and this is a guy that I probably wouldn't want him in the second, but if the Steelers felt like they needed to get an edge and they grabbed him in the third round, I wouldn't be mad at it. Would not be mad at it whatsoever. So, moving right along, my number 9 guy is going to be Zion Young. Um, Big guy, 6'6", 262 pounds, ran a 4.72. His arm length is 33, so arms are plenty long enough. His estimate draft round is second, mid round second. So if a guy got a second round grade like that, a mid second round grade, it's a possibility he gets pushed down to the third round, unless there's a team out there that just really like him. I mean, sometimes you get that. You get teams that they just really like a guy, and instead of waiting, they go get him. So he could go in the second round. But like I said yesterday, and that's a personal thing of mine. Ziggy Hood just got me having a bias against any player that comes from Missouri. But to be fair to this young man, he's a good player. He's a good player. Again, solid guy. Probably not a starter day one, but definitely a guy that could come in and play a couple of snaps. Because a lot of one of the things with these edges are that they don't really have coming into the NFL. I mean, maybe some of the elite guys may have it, but most of these guys, they just got to figure it out. And what I mean by figure it out, they just have to get some, because maybe in college, they might have been stronger than a lot of guys they were going up against. So they were able to, kind of bull rush and basically just had a limited amount of moves. Where in the NFL, you got to have way more moves than what you have in college. So, these guys just got to come in and they got to figure it out. And like I say, you watching TJ Watt, you're watching Alex Highsmith. You could be watching those guys, how they do it, and learn from some good guys. And this is a kid that I would think in year 2, he probably would be ready to go. Great size. He's 6'6", so he's going to have the size that you need. So this is just a guy that again, I think that you could develop him and see what you have. See what you have. So my number 8 guy is R. Mason Thomas. And I did some research. I was like, what does R stand for? And I couldn't find it. I think the R just stands for R. So something different. So his name is R. Mason Thomas. 6'2", 241 pounds. He ran a 4.67. Now we're getting into some little shorter arms here. 31 and 5/8. He's an estimate second round draft pick. Again, he's one of these guys that just have a a crazy motor. I mean, sometimes, you know, like you could kind of look at his arm length and say, he's gonna be too short. But sometimes these guys like this, they just had that will. They just had that will that regardless of what's going on, they're not gonna be defeated, and that arm length really don't affect them that much. And I think he's kind of like one of those guys. He's great against the run. He can set the edge. He's a strong player. So this is just another guy that I think that can be developed and really, really, get after the quarterback. And like I say, especially if you made a trade for, if you traded Herbig or something like that, he could definitely come in and kind of play that position. Um, so, like I say, if the Steelers decide they want to go in that route, it's definitely players that'll be available for them. So my number 7 guy, um, Cassius Howell. Now this kid here has a lot of upside to me. When I watch his film, he still got some rough edges, but this is a kid that I think at the end of the day, he could be like one of the better rushers that's coming out of this draft. I think the upside is really real. I think the upside is tremendous with this kid. 6'2", 253 pounds. He ran a 4.59. Shorter arms, 30 and 1/4. He's expected to be like a second round draft pick, but this is a kid that can set the edge. He's good. He's great against the run, and he can get after your quarterback. And like I say, he's just a guy like all the rest of these young guys. He got to figure it out. He just got to figure it out and see, what he has to do. And like I say right here, it's kind of talking about his arm length. Yep, 30 and 1/4 arms. Wingspan was only 74 and 1/4. So that kind of that kind of turns a lot of people off. So he may drop, but this is a guy. If he drops in the third or fourth round, you got to snatch him up. You got to it. If he's sitting there in the fourth round, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they have 2 fourth-round picks, this is a guy. It'll be a no-brainer. Snatch this guy up. Snatch him up. Akeem Minsour. Now this is a kid that I think I got him at number 6, but I think this kid may slip into the first round. 6'3", 259, a 4.940. Arms are kind of somewhat on the short bus, I guess you could say. 32 1/8. I don't know what's going on in Miami. Like they don't have long arms down in Miami. Another second round pick, which I think this kid may actually. I've seen a couple of mocks that had him in the first round. Um, Stout against the run. Um, you know, I I don't know if he really. To me, he seemed a little stiff to me, somewhat. But um, you know, they love him. A lot of teams love him, and like I say, that's all it takes. That's all it takes. At the end of the day, all you need is one team to like you. If you can get one team to like you, then you're good to go. And I think he may be in that type of situation that he may get one team that like him, and he may slide into the first round. All right, my number 5 pick. Now these are guys I think all these guys are going in the first round. T.J. Parker, 6'4", 263 pounds. Ran a 4.68, 33 and 1/8 arm length. Estimated draft first round, and I think he will go in the first round. But also, I don't know how much of an edge he really is. I see this kid as more of a 4-3 defensive end, so it's probably not really a fit for Pittsburgh, I think a lot of teams will look at him as a defensive end, and try to put him at end, and at he's almost 270. So he in a couple of years, this kid really a season, honestly, um another off season, this kid could be up to 270, 275, and I think a lot of teams will have him as a 4-3 defensive end. I think that's what he is. I don't really think he's a um a 3-4 edge guy. So I don't know how much the fit it would really be here in Pittsburgh. My next guy, my number four guy out of Clemson again, Peter Woods. And he's definitely uh, a 4-3 defensive end. 6'2", 298 pounds. Um, ran a 4.75. Kind of short arms, 31 and one fourth estimate first round. But I think also just because of his size, he may actually fit here in Pittsburgh, but not really so much as an edge. In the Steelers defense, this could be a guy. Could he be a Cam Hayward replacement? Because I think he would play DN in the Steelers or defensive tackle, but he'll be part of that 3-man front. And could he be a Cam Hayward replacement down the line? Because he's going to have the size, he's going to have the strength. So when you look at him, he could possibly fit here in Pittsburgh. He could possibly fit here. So it's just one of those situations where the Steelers just got to feel comfortable of what he bring and what they want to do. My number 3 guy, Kenrick Falk. Again, this is another big guy, 6'6", 276 pounds. He ran a 4.67, 34 and 3/8 arms, and he's projected to go in the first round. Another guy that he may be more of a 4-3 defensive end at 276 pounds. So this is a kid you can get him to 285, and he could play DN, and with that size he has. So I don't really think he's a fit here in Pittsburgh, because he's too small to really be our type defensive ends that we need. And as an edge, maybe a little bit too heavy, maybe a little bit too heavy, and maybe not really athletic enough to become a edge player. But he could definitely be a DN, solid DN, get a little bit more weight on him. And so I think whatever team probably looks to draft him is probably going to be a 4-3 team. So my number 2 guy, keep this moving, Ruben Bain Jr. And he might end up having the best career out of all these guys. And I know everybody has made, saying that his arms are short. Well, they are short, but I don't know if they really going to affect this guy, because this guy is strong as a bull. And again, he's just one of those guys that he ain't going to accept the fact that my arms are short and I just can't get around this. He's going to find a way. He's going to find a way. So he's 6'2", 263 pounds, ran a 4.72, the 30 and 7/8 arms. He's going to go in the first round. He's going to go pretty high in this draft. Actually, I think he may end up being a Cincinnati Bengal. I wouldn't be shocked. He's going to be a guy that's going to kind of play edge, defensive end. He's tough against the run. And like I say, this is just a guy that I feel like he finds a way to get whatever he needs to get done. And He ain't gonna accept the fact of staying blocked. And I think some teams are gonna make a mistake in passing him up, but it won't be too many teams because I think he's gonna go pretty high. But I think when it's all said and done, I think a lot of teams may look back and be like, man, what was we thinking, and passed up on this kid. And the number one guy, in which I think this kid is going to be top five. Actually, I believe he's going to be the second pick in the draft. I think he's going to be a New York Jet. David Bailey, 6'4", 251 pounds, ran a 4.5, 33 and 3/4 arms. And like I say, he's definitely going to be a top 5 pick. And I'm predicting that he goes number 2 to the New York Jets. Um, I think the Jets is going to take this kid. Hey, he gets after your quarterback. He gets after your quarterback. Once he really figure it out, once he figure the NFL out and get some more moves and probably get a little more stronger, get a little stronger, this is going to be a kid that's going to be he's going to be a force to deal with. And I truly believe that he's going to be the second pick in this draft. So, with that said, that's it. That's it for the edges. Like I say, will the Steelers decide to get into this market? It's a possibility they will. We just have to wait and see. What the Steelers would want to do, but that's it. And tomorrow we will be talking linebackers. We'll be talking linebackers tomorrow. And then Friday, we will be probably go safeties Friday and then finish up with the corners. And then we'll be all done. We'll be all done. And this draft is right around the corner. So it's kind of exciting. It is almost here, and all the speculation can kind of go to the side, and we actually see what the Steelers are going to do. So until then, you guys take care, and I will talk to you later. All right, bye-bye.